Hello everyone. In this video I will talk about RAG, an important concept in creating AI based applications, basically generative AI applications. So before we dive into the RAG process, let's do this exercise where I'll ask a few questions to ChatGPT and observe how it responds. As we all know, ChatGPT has been trained on worlds of data, and when we ask some question it answers from its own knowledge. So let me ask this question to ChatGPT: who was the winner of ICC T20 World Cup 2007? And see here, it's thinking and then it's giving the answer. Okay, so it's answering from its own memory. It knows this information, so it's replying with that. Now let's ask who was the winner, rather who became the winner of ICC T20 World Cup 2026, and observe here, searching the web, and then it responds. Okay, you observe the difference. First question was an old question, old information, so it answers directly. But when I ask the latest data, it searches the internet. That means it does not have the information itself. The ChatGPT itself does not have that knowledge, but it has a capability to search the internet and fetch the live data, which you know didn't exist a few years ago. A few years ago, this question would have been answered like this: I have a cutoff date of this date. I don't know. I don't have information after this date. Okay. So how this became possible? How ChatGPT started giving information on the latest data, which it was not trained on? It became possible because of two things. One is the RAG capability. RAG, where it retrieves information from outside, which it does not have. Another is agentic capability. So when a model does anything other than answering from its knowledge, anything outside of its own data, that needs agentic capability to take any action. And here that action is searching the internet, retrieving the information from the outside. So that retrieval of information from outside is called RAG. So let me explain you what RAG is. So consider this is the LLM, and when we ask a question, it searches in its own knowledge base and answers the question. But if it does not have that data answer to that question, it either hallucinates, right? It gives any random answer. Or if we have designed it this way that if you don't have answer, just politely deny. then it will say I don't have this information. And when we want to create any application related to some domain, like medical domain or legal domain, we know that this LLM would have all the domain knowledge. It knows medical, it knows legal, and all kind of domain expertise it has. But the one problem of LLM is it knows everything, but at higher level, not at the deep level. As we are advancing, as these LLMs are advancing, it is gaining more and more depth. But at basic level, it does not have very deep knowledge of one particular domain. Like if we talk about medical, it will have basic knowledge, lot of knowledge, but not everything it will know. So at some point it will not be able to answer some questions. Okay, so that is one limitation. Second is, if we have some data in our own system, suppose in case of medical we have hospital data, we have collected some data in our own database which LLM does not have access to. So suppose for some symptom this hospital have done some research and it wants to suggest only that information, but if you ask that question to LLM, it won't give that answer. So what will happen in that case? How we include this data here? Okay, so one was latest data on internet, one is private data, right? So when LLM was launched initially, when ChatGPT was launched initially, it was being trained frequently, and a new version was released, and it used to answer till that time only. If you ask, if you it was trained till December 2025, if you ask something which has happened in January, it will not answer. So later ChatGPT, OpenAI added this RAG capability and connected it with internet. So now it can search the internet and give you the latest information. Okay, so this one problem was solved by the vendor. But what about this private data? This data does not belong in the internet. Okay, ChatGPT or OpenAI does not have access to this. Then how LLM will use this data? So that is where we have to design a system where we connect this LLM to our private data. Right, so what OpenAI did here, we have to do here. Okay, and that means RAG. So we have to add a RAG layer where we connect our private data to this LLM. So now when we question, this LLM has three kind of information. One, whatever it was trained on. Other, whatever is latest on the internet. And third, whatever is in our private database. So now it has access to all these three things, and when we question, it searches the information at all three areas, like in its own knowledge or in the internet and in this private data and answers you this. Okay. So ChatGPT can answer whatever is available on the internet. So if you create any application which does the same thing, you will not be able to go ahead in the market because ChatGPT will do this. But if you create an application which answers from some private data, then you will be able to add some value which OpenAI cannot do. Okay, this is the reason we should create some application where we make the LLM work on some private data. Private as in like city data, which in detail does not accessible to the LLM or is not available on the internet, or some private business data or hospital data or college, some institution data. So if we design a medical crew, this LLM already knows a lot of things. It can fetch a lot of things from internet. But if there are some specific private information, some research done by hospital, then that is not available here, which can be available in our application through the RAG process. So in RAG, what happens when we ask question, based on the context of the question, LLM searches its own memory, own knowledge base. If required, it searches on the internet and it searches in our private data based on the context. So what basically it does is it does a search based on the question. So question is converted into a context. That context is searched in this private information. And when it searches, what it does is it retrieves the information. Okay. And after retrieving this information, what it does is it adds that information with its own result. So adds means it augments whatever is searched here, that gets augmented, that gets added with this data. So retrieved, then augmented, and then generated. Okay, whatever is generated is retrieved plus augmented. So this process RAG is retrieval augmented generation. So in simple terms, search in private data and combine with the LLM data. Okay, so RAG is a process where LLM has access to some private data, and based on the context it searches the answer and then adds it with their result and then gives you the response. So full form is retrieval augmented generation, which adds a capability to the LLM to search in this private data. So when I am talking about search, what kind of search is this? Search means like as we search in any database, SQL search. Okay, or what kind of search is this? So this search is something called as semantic search. Okay, so when we integrate RAG into any application, what we do is we implement a semantic search. Based on this context, this LLM does a semantic search here and then appends the data in this result. Okay, so this semantic search is itself a big topic which includes a lot of processes. So in the next video we will understand what semantic search is, what all steps it involves, and how it helps in RAG. Okay, thank you.